where people are like, how in the world did you get this so fast? How did you get your manifestations to land? Well, I'm going to show you how to completely shift your reality through the 3 stages of consciousness. Now, let me get my whiteboard here because I think it's easier to visually see things on a whiteboard. So let's say that this right here is you. This is, now I'm not an artist, so I'm just letting you know that ahead of time. But let's say this is you with an oval head that's a little bit lumpy for whatever reason. And you're like, I want to shift my reality. So think about whatever your manifestation is, whether you want more money, whether you're someone who wants more love, like finding a romantic partner. Let's say you really want this beautiful house that you've been dreaming of. And you're like, I would love a nice house that's just perfect for me and for my family. Let's say you maybe have 3 kids or whatever the case is. We'll get more into the details of the manifestation later, and I'm going to break down for you how you can completely shift your reality and go from the lowest level and layer of consciousness to the highest layer, and exactly step by step what you're going to do to get your manifestations to land faster. Okay? So whether you want more money, most people want this one, or a lot of people who have a lot of money want more love. Maybe you have a dream home and you're like, I want to live here. Maybe you want to be a digital nomad and travel the world one day. Maybe that's your goal. Maybe you want to manifest better friendships, maybe a better community where you feel included. So I'll just put little little stick figures there. So you basically get the gist of it. And let's give you a face, right? Let's say you're happy when you receive these things, because this is obviously what you want. Maybe you deep down want more happiness. Maybe you want more joy in your life. Maybe you're like, I'm lacking a lot of inner peace. I really want to heal. I really want to get there. Okay. Now let's talk about what prevents a lot of these manifestations from happening and how to completely shift your reality. Well, number 1, here is I was going to do a diamond, but let's just do a triangle for now. And the lowest level of consciousness is the one that most people value the most, okay? It is the logical. It is based on the 5 senses. Now, the issue with this lowest level of consciousness, of only relying on what you can see, of what you can smell, of what you can hear, of what you can taste, or of what you can touch, is that this makes up less than 1% of reality, okay? This is less than 1% of reality. So if you only look at logic, this is your reality. And this is not really reality in real life, but this is your reality because you're only looking at, well, how am I going to get this? So I'm going to give you specific examples of how you're going to shift your reality, no matter what your manifestation or your goal actually is. So since this makes up less than 1%, you can see here why it's so small. So I'm just going to do diagonal lines to represent the less than 1%. And that's actually way more than 1%, but I'm just showing you how small it is in the entire shift of reality. So this is just the physical, okay? You're looking at the physical realm. So I'm just going to write physical, phys for short. Now, if we go into the mental state, this is the second level of consciousness, is the mental. So I'm going to write in here, mental. This is how you can bridge the gap between the highest level of consciousness, which we know is the spiritual. Most people get afraid of the spiritual realm because they don't understand it. So they don't even bother to try to understand it. Now, quantum physics, science, and people who are even religious sometimes, depending on their religion or their belief system, do think at a higher level of spiritual consciousness, but without kind of missing the mental. But you will notice that even in the spiritual realm, that there are some people who are like, oh, I'm going to get this. I'm believing God will give it to me, and God will give it to them. Why? Because they didn't look at their physical circumstances that they saw right in front of them. They didn't use their physical circumstances to believe that those things would happen for them. Okay? So this represents the highest level of consciousness, which is God, which is source, which is energy, which is the highest form of power. So if you ask an atheist, right, do you believe in God? They'll say no. But if you ask them, do you believe in energy? They'll say yes. So they have different definition of God, but it is God, right? Whether you say God, universe, source, the creator of life, they believe in energy because energy has existed for all time. It cannot be explained. It is all powerful. It is somehow all encompassing. It does the same things that people describe as God, which is the highest source. So we are not God, okay? No matter what, we can't know everything. We're not all knowing. We're not all powerful. We're not all encompassing all at once and everywhere all at once. But because this is the physical realm and the spiritual realm is really representing that, we're seeing our 3D reality before our eyes. But like we said before, because that makes up less than 1%, we have to rely on this thing that created everything, right? You can call it energy. You can call it God. You can call it what you want. This thing that created everything and that exists everywhere somehow created everything to work together for a purpose. So I'll give you an example of a vision I saw. I want you to think about the bumblebee. When I closed my eyes and I was breathing, I cannot draw, okay, to save my life. So this is just a bumblebee with little wings on it. So this is the bee. And while I was meditating in stillness, because I was shown this vision of this bee, I then saw the bee drinking nectar from the flower. But then the bee went and traveled to the beehive. The queen was there. All the bees were there. There were honeycombs everywhere. Then I see these bee, harvesters taking the honeycombs and then scraping it off for our usage. Then I imagine myself drinking tea. So I realized that everything is literally working together for us. Whatever created God, right? God created this universe and this world for us. That's why there's even a verse, whether you're spiritual, not spiritual, there's a verse in the Bible that says all things are working together for our good. That is true. That is a fact. All things are working together for us because the bee is working for us. The flower is working for us with the nectar. The honeycomb is then working for us. There are people who are beekeepers who are working for us, right? And they are all working together for your good. So you can have honey in your tea. Just think about that whole process. So if you don't believe all things are working together for you, well, you already have to shift that limiting belief because this planet was created for you. You wouldn't have a burger without a cow, would you? You wouldn't have the tree without it growing and the fruits that grow off the tree without a tree. So when you look at how everything was built specifically and perfectly for you, you will then begin to shift your reality that, hey, let me look at this as a mathematical equation. If everything is working together for my good, then that means I cannot fail. Therefore, this highest power wants to see me win. The unlimited wants to see me succeed, wants me to carry out my purpose. That means I cannot fail. See, failure or mistakes, quote unquote, are not really failures or mistakes. It reminds me of a baby who was trying to walk, right? When you were a baby, you were trying to walk. You kept falling down. Is that a mistake? Is that a failure? No, it's not. It was you being a baby learning and building this muscle. So as you were learning and building this muscle as a baby that, okay, it's okay to fall. I'm going to get back up again until I learn how to walk. That is the same with your quote unquote mistakes and failures. They're not mistakes or failures. You're actually building momentum. So as you keep going and taking these actions, belief plus action equals manifestation. Guess what? You start seeing things land faster. Now, how do you apply this to your reality? You say, okay, Lindsay, I get it. I don't want to rely on less than 1% of the logic of learning the how. I don't necessarily want to learn the how or the when necessarily, but I know it can happen fast for me. This is when you have to shift your mentality. So let's say, I'm going to use the house example for this one. Let's say you want a house. First things first. If you're looking in the physical realm, you're like, I don't have a house. You're only seeing what you don't have. You're saying it's too much money, it's too expensive, and of course you're not going to attract something that you don't believe you can have. So instead of looking at the logical and looking at your bank account or your physical circumstances, because guess what? The world was created evenly. So God doesn't care about your physical circumstances. God doesn't care what's in your bank account. God doesn't care about any of those things. Let's say you want to manifest a house. Get specific. Let's shift from this reality to the mental, which is the second layer of consciousness. What are you going to start doing? You're going to start saying, well, what type of house do I want? You're going to get clear on it. You're going to say, I want a 5-bedroom house. I have 3 kids. I want 3 rooms for them. I want one beautiful big one for me and my significant other. And let's say I want a guest room. So you want a 5-bedroom house. I also want to swim in the pool every day. So I want a pool. I want 3 bathrooms. So no one has to compete, right? 3 bath. So now you're getting really specific. You're going from, how is that possible? I don't have the money. I can't afford a house, to, oh, I'm going to shift my mentality of what type of house do I want? Because if all things are working together for my good, I can get a house. I get the house of my dreams. So now you're going to do your research on 5-bedroom houses, three baths, and ones with a pool, or that include something that you want. Maybe you want a fire pit in your backyard. Maybe you want something else in your backyard. What do you want it to look like? Start to envision it. Start to visualize. Visualization is such a powerful tool that you can use, and then doing the research to look for it. This is already shifting your mentality that this is possible. Now, how do you go to the 3rd layer of consciousness? You go from here to the spiritual by not just saying, this is the specific house I want. I've done my research. I know how much it costs. I know the price. I know exactly the location where I want it to be. I visit the location and I say, it's already mine. It's already mine. This is the shift. This is the shift from this consciousness to this layer of consciousness. It's already mine. Now you're waking up every day saying, I'm so grateful for this home because my kids have enough room and enough space to go out and play in the backyard. They have the pool. We have this, we have that. So now you're shifting from less than 1% of reality to the mental to then the spiritual. It's already mine. Claiming it, owning it. They used to call it name it and claim it back in the day, but this is actually facts. When you begin to realize that your reality is not real and that you create your own reality, and how you can shift is, and you can do this with all of these, whether it's money, whether it's, love, whether it's food. I literally manifested squash. I was like, I really want squash. I haven't had that. And I looked up the health benefits. I started researching, and then sure enough, someone pulls up and they give me a bag of these groceries, and I was open to receiving it, right? I could have said no, but I said, I want this. And they surprised me. They said, I have something for you. There was, of course, what was in there? To my surprise, squash. So yes, and that was within a week. I manifested that. So it's not just money or love. You can manifest food. You can manifest whatever you want. But this house is not out of reach. So before you completely say, oh, my bank account doesn't match, God doesn't care about your bank account or your circumstances. God cares about your faith. So the mental is the action behind it. Am I researching? Am I specific? Am I clear on exactly what type of house I want? What color is it? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? This is where the visualization comes in. Then you're going to shift into the spiritual. The spiritual is, it's already mine. I own it. Now, how do you feel owning this home? Begin to write these letters to yourself, or email this to yourself. Email those gratitudes. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that me and my kids, they're swimming in the pool right now. They're laughing. I'm so happy to see the smiles on their faces. And then you're going to save your money. You're going to look up locations. For example, if you want to live overseas and you're like, I love this mansion in South Africa. Well, you're going to go over there. You're going to get your passport renewed. You're going to get yourself set up for success so that when you go over there, what are the procedures? Then you start looking into, how do I become a citizen in another country? Now you're doing the research, right? Mentality. And then you're saying, it's already mine. That's my house. That's my home. I want to live there. I'm going to be there. Actually, I already live there. It's so cozy. I love that. It's a quiet neighborhood. I love that none of my neighbors are annoying and I don't have to see them. I love that there's a big gate up at my house. Like, now you're speaking it. And you're moving like you already have that house. So how would you move? Start moving like the person who already has the house. And that is how you shift your reality from this lowest level of consciousness to the middle layer of consciousness to the highest level of consciousness. You can literally do that with all of these examples, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's finding friendships that are aligned, whether it's getting the home of your dreams, whether it's attracting more joy, more peace, and more kind people into your life. It doesn't actually matter. You can completely shift your reality when you shift the way that you see the world. So now your actions have to align with that. Now your words have to align with that. So now can't isn't a part of your vocabulary. Now, how's that possible is no longer in your vocabulary. Now you're already doing the research. You're taking the action steps to align your reality with where you want to be. So that is the key right there. Let me know in the comments to affirm your manifestation. Write down what you already have as if you already have it. And guess what? It's already yours.